Salute is a program for and about men and women who have served our country. Our program includes news about the laws that affect veterans, information on benefits and services, and news from veterans organizations. And now, our host, Bob Peters.
Hello, I'm your host, Bob Peters. Welcome to Salute. My guest today is Mr. Art Hampe. Art is part of a rare breed, I guess, a Pearl Harbor survivor. We're honored to have you on the show. You know, there aren't many of you guys left. We're glad you're here to tell us a little bit about your career in the military. Where were you born, Art?
I was born in Fullerton, California.
I should tell everybody you're going to be, what, 93? Or you're 92 now?
I'll be 92 May 1st.
Wow. Well, not too far away from your birthday. So happy birthday. Early happy birthday.
Thank you.
So how did you wind up in the Navy?
Well, I was really raised in Central California up in where they grew oranges, and there wasn't anything that don't grow in the San Joaquin Valley. And my dad was a foreman for a person that owned about 800 acres of oranges. And he was the foreman for him. And I would work, and I worked under him. I had a brother, he wouldn't do nothing. But I don't know, I guess I kind of got, after I graduated from high school and worked a couple of years for him, I guess I kind of got tired of that, and me and a couple of my friends, we one day jumped in my car and we went to Fresno, and would you know, I was the only one that made it. I was qualified to go.
Oh, yeah?
And that was in April of 1940.
Before the war started.
Oh, yes. Way before the war started.
And you told me you did 8 years in the Navy, right?
Yes, I did.
And we're going to get into that. We got some pictures here from Pearl Harbor, but I have this one picture here I'd like to show everybody. This is a picture of you when you went up to Washington, right? On the
yes, the honor flight.
The honor flight. Can you tell me a little bit about the honor flight? You're the first guy I met that actually was on it. How was that trip?
Well, that trip was very nice. That was so well organized. That there was no problem. There was 172 people on the plane, and of course we had to land in Boston and take a bus to Washington D.C. And everything was just perfect. You know, they served us breakfast, and then we had lunch. And when you got back on the plane to come home, by about 9 o'clock at the evening, or it was nighttime, they served us a dinner on the way home. And everything runs so on time that it's probably the best organized thing I had ever been on.
I'm glad you got the opportunity to do that. You, when you went in, where did you go to basic? When you first went in the Navy?
I went to San Diego boot camp.
Uh-huh. How long was that, you remember?
It takes 3 months.
3 months. Did you have to learn how to swim? Or did you know how to swim?
I knew how to swim. But no, at that time, they don't teach us how to swim.
Right? I don't know. That's one of the reasons I went in the Air Force. I couldn't swim. But anyway, so after basic, where did you go?
After basic, I was transferred directly to Ford Island in Hawaii, and went to this squadron of VP-23. I'd done all my time there, with them. So,
and of course, we have some photos here that we want to show the folks at home. This is what it was like in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, that's just one of the big explosions. I thought it's a very realistic picture.
Yeah.
There's so many of them that you can't.
You
bring 'em
guys
all.
didn't have any warning at all that was coming, right?
Right.
Kind
No
of caught
warning.
you by surprise.
No.
I want to ask you a little bit about that morning in December 7th, 1941, the Pearl Harbor. Do you remember the events of that morning?
Yes, I remember the events. The barracks we had a big, I'd call a front porch. It was screened all the way back and forth. And it was long. This barracks must have sat 300 or 400. And you had to be there a pretty while before you can rate a bunk out there on the front porch, see? Otherwise it gets hot inside in that barracks.
Yeah, no air conditioning.
And, well, I had one. I'd been there long enough to get one. And we was facing the harbor. And so all this noise starts, you know, and I guess he jumped up out of bed and I was standing there looking and trying to figure out what was going on. And finally this plane finally come around, had the big red thing on it, and people began to realize something was happening. Mm. The Marines were right down there trying to put the flag up. And of course everybody jumped in some clothes, and our hangar was about a quarter of a mile away. So everybody headed down there that was supposed to go that way. And, well, I got in the hangar there, and this old chief was there. He says, "Son," he called me son, he says, "you better go out there and get in that ditch." They happened to be digging a ditch along the runway. He kind of made a trench for us. They was putting in a new pipeline. And of course, I went out there, and you know what? He looked up there and he says, "Son, you better get down in here." Same guy, old. He must have been 60 years old. He beat me there.
He beat you there.
Yeah. But from there on, it's kind of, gets kind of blank sometimes, you know?
Yeah. It's chaos.
Yeah, I think kind of got organized a little bit. Well, they manned the machine guns and them old PBYs sitting there on the ramp, but they didn't do much good.
This is another picture that you brought with an explosion there.
Well, that's a picture of the area of where the PBYs were, and the bomb hit the hangar that belonged to B-26 26, and we're back over in the here, but it just kind of shows what's happened to them and damage and so forth.
Yeah, you weren't actually, wasn't you telling me that this one here on the right, that barracks, was that your barracks?
Is that my plane?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No, it don't happen to be.
No. Okay.
It's from the other squadron, but we're right next door to it.
But this one here, that's your plane, right?
That kind of shows what a PBY is. It's a big monstrous seaplane. Is actually what it amounts to. That's used for patrol and rescue work mostly.
Yeah, you told me before you spent a lot of time in there and on these planes, and yeah, you look at it, you don't realize it's a seaplane. You told me you had to take the wheels off to get it up in the air and everything?
Well, yes, you have to take the wheels off. And on each side it has, of course, these great big duals. it'd have the post in it and 2 pins go in the side when you get it in the right place. But those duels, they had to have water and air in them to balance them so you could get them down in the water and get the pins in. And then the tail wheel was held all the pins also. You have to take all these pins off and away it goes.
Sounds like a lot of work to get it up. And get
Yes,
it
it is.
Yeah. And you would say you'd be in that for like 6 hours at a time flying?
6 hours at a time. That's most every day.
Yeah. And you basically were like reconnaissance, you were saying. You were looking.
That was our main project, was reconnaissance.
You fly around and you could see where things are and you could report it back to the military.
Well, yeah, come back to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. You have some notes. I don't want to interrupt you. Just go to your notes and what you want to tell us about.
Well, after Pearl Harbor, I haven't got the date down, but it's about a week or so after Pearl Harbor, they lost contact with Wake Island. And so they sent one PVY to go to Wake Island. We had to go to Midway first and then to Wake Island because it was too far in one flight. And I would happen to be on that crew. We flew to Wake Island. We stayed one night, picked up one man, and come back. So I was on the crew that brought the last man off of Wake Island. He was a Major Baylor. I don't know anything about him, but that's what it was. And I understand the Japs bombed it 2 hours after we left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, but he was glad you came along.
Yeah. No, well, we went, of course, back to Pearl Harbor. And then on, well, we went to Canton Island. And we flew patrols from Canton to Super Fiji. Every day. We go to Super Fiji, stay overnight, and we come back. And we done that for a couple of months. And then back to Pearl Harbor. So I guess they kind of called that R&R for us because I don't know, we had a skipper that, there's 12 planes in the squadron. We had a skipper that, I don't know, he always sent the same 6 crews first. He'd send them first.
Like a Hallmark card, when you care enough, you send the very best. That's what they must have thought of you as.
Yeah. So we was down there for a while, and then come the Midway battle.
That's a famous battle.
We went to Midway 2 weeks before the Midway battle. And we flew. I flew 212 hours in 21 days.
Wow.
You're only supposed to fly 80 hours a month. And of course, these fighter pilots got shot down and so forth, and we done the rescue work. That was one of our big things during the war, especially if there's a battle and around these islands where they had an airstrip and these, so they'd get shot down. we'd go out and pick them up if it was smooth enough. Because I'll tell you, landing in that ocean and trying to take off in these swells,
Oh boy.
it's very difficult for a pilot. And he would start, and you had these floats out on the end of the wings. You probably see them in that picture. No, you can't see them.
I didn't see him in that picture.
But they were retractable.
The pods were retractable?
The floats
Yeah,
on the end of the wings.
yeah.
So whenever you was in the, it had a 180-foot wingspan.
Wow.
And well, I didn't tell you, but a crew for that thing is 2 pilots, a navigator, 2 radiomen, and 2 mechanics.
You can read my mind. I was going to ask you how many on the crew.
That's a crew
Yeah.
that flew with that airplane. Whenever it went out, that's who you had on there. That is most of the time.
Now, when you would go out and do these reconnaissance missions, did you have any protection like a fighter? Nothing, right? Were you armed? Was that plane armed?
The only time I ever had fighter protection was we was off of Bougainville. There was a pilot down about a quarter of a mile off of the beach. And I happened to be in the plane that's designated to go pick this pilot up. But that's it. I had a 7-plane fighter escort.
Wow.
Because we were so close to the beach, you know.
Yeah.
The machine guns could get us. And they strafed that beach, so we got that pilot in the air. Away we ran. That's what we done.
Yeah.
Of course, most of the time you don't find a pilot that's close enough to get an escort. He's out in the ocean somewhere.
Yeah.
And I went to New Caledonia. We was the first PB Rice to go to the islands in the Pacific down there, that is in this area. It's to New Caledonia. And this is kind of the beginning of the taking the islands and the Solomon Islands and up and through there. And we was there for 3 months and went back and to Pearl Harbor. And we went back to Canton. After that, we went back to Canton Island. You ever hear of Canton Island?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a little ways south of the equator. And it has 2 runways on it. It's just a big round island. It's got a lagoon in the middle. And where these 2 runways come together at the point, there's 1 palm tree.
1 palm tree?
That's the only tree on that island. Now,
Doesn't sound like a fun place.
That is a real true story.
Yeah.
As I've read about it in magazines, even so forth. And yeah, it's a very true story. But the shore ain't nothing there. Just nothing but a big old coral reef is all it is. The old China Clipper years ago landed there to refuel.
Oh yeah, I remember the China. I remember reading about the China Clipper.
This is the area where Amelia Hart went down. It's in that area.
Oh, in that area, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's all we done was fly and look.
You ever get fired upon?
What?
The enemy ever get fired upon, shoot at you, at your plane? Because it seems like an awful big target. You know, you said with a 120-foot wingspan?
Yeah. Had a fighter on us one time. And we, of course, in PB1, you got no protection underneath.
Yeah.
So we put it right down, the old pilot puts it right down on the water. And this fighter, he wasn't too brave either. Just was firing them 50 caliber machine guns at him. And anyway, after it all happened, and nobody got hurt, nothing happened. And after we got in, I says, Mr. Slater, he's my pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I said, did you fly a little bit low when that fighter was after us? He says, they don't build them flat enough to go under me. Yeah, I don't know. We flew out of Espiritu Santos, was the main harbor for the Solomon Islands invasions, for Guadalcanal and all these. We flew out of there patrolling. And like I told you, the skipper, he always sent the same 6 guys. We sent us to an island about a week before the invasion of Guadalcanal, and sent us 6 planes up there about 50 miles away from where the invasion was going to be. And you know, we flew out of there for a week. We had a ship there. We had to have fuel and all that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And they never knew it.
Wow.
And the morning of the invasion, of course, we all took off. We flew over. I flew right over the invasion area. Looked at it, watched it, you know. It was, well, I says, you know, the person I feel sorry for in the war is the foot soldier. That boy, he's got it tough.
Yep.
We think sometimes we got it tough. No way. You got to give him credit. I don't know. He returned to Pearl Harbor, and I'd been out there for 4 years. My last tour down to the Solomon Islands, I stayed for 9 months. After the Guadalcanal, then there was 2 more islands, New Georgia and Bougainville. After Bougainville, I got to come home. The squadron got to come home. Because we had been down there a long time.
It isn't over till it's over there, right? That's what they said, right?
Yeah. And we got to come home and finally got to come back to the U.S. That was it. Well, I got to come back to the United States, and they sent me to DeLand,
Lordy.
to the Naval Air Fighter Station, trained fighter pilots and dive bomber pilots. And I was there a couple of years. Got married. And since then, of course, I've gotten divorced and married again. Gail and I have been married for 36 years, I think.
You better get that right. She's sitting in the other room.
Yeah. But after I got back, also, when I got to DeLand, I stayed there for 2 years, and then they sent me to Corpus Christi when they closed there. And I stayed there about 1.5 years, and sent me back to Guam. They only had 10 months to do. And I come back in San Francisco, and I got out of that military. That was the end of my career, April 1 of 1948.
1948.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you certainly have had quite the career, and actually you know, when I sit here and I listen to you, you talk about the Solomon Islands and the Battle of Midway and Pearl Harbor. I mean, I watch videos, but it's actually something to actually meet someone like yourself.
Well, I saw a lot of islands. We were flying out of Espirito. There was one island I'm going to tell you about. It must have been 300 miles out and was all by itself. But it had nothing but Polynesians on it. Boy, that thing had the prettiest Polynesian girls you've ever seen in your life.
Family show, Art.
Everybody had the field glasses and we'd fly around wild, you know. No, yeah. Everybody wanted that patrol.
Yeah.
But that was interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is. You've had an interesting career and a big part of history. And you remember when we first sat down and started talking, you said, we're going to have to talk for 30 minutes. And you said you didn't know if you were going to be able to talk for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We're out of time.
We are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, it's really great for me and for a lot of people to hear firsthand what happened and from the men and women who serve our country. You know, and I really appreciate it that you came on. And I want to thank you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
But we're out of time, so I got to say goodbye. This is how I do that. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Until next time. We are now entering our third year salute here at Lakefront TV. We've had many great guests and veterans organizations share their stories with us. We'd like to hear from you too. If you're a veteran or a veterans organization, Lake Sumter counties, please give us a call. Lakefront TV can be seen all over Lake County and the villages and worldwide at lakefronttv.com.